All right, we're starting off on a cool note. Today is going to be a really warm day, borderline hot, in fact, especially for this time of year. So now's a good time to open up those windows, cool down your home if you don't want to have to crank up the AC. That was a live look from the Vancouver waterfront in our Mary Hill tasting room and bistro camera. Look at the contrast in temperatures this morning. We're anywhere from 39 out in Vernonia all the way to 65 in Troutdale, and here's why. That east wind is starting to crank up. It's pouring off the Cascades through the gorge, and that wind is keeping those temperatures more elevated. But wind-sheltered spots have dropped at least into the 40s and 50s. So some of you may need a sweater or jacket. Some of you may not need it at all today. Here's another live look outside from the Discover Newport camera, getting a little bit of daylight out there. This is going to be a really interesting location to watch the weather today, and here's why. We're going to have a brief offshore wind that moves from land to sea. So that's going to really warm things up. But the wind is going to start to turn back out of the southwest off the Pacific Ocean as we get into the early to mid-afternoon. So we're going to start to cool down earlier from south to north. So we should only reach the 70s along the central coast, but up to the north, highs are going to climb into the mid to maybe the upper 80s with that air pouring down the coast range and compressing the air. Our western valleys are looking at the warmest day of the year. Highs at least in the upper 80s in many spots, but I think we could hit 90 degrees briefly in the metro area. The gorge is looking at a warm day with highs in the mid 80s. It's going to be windier with that east wind cranking up to about 15 to 25 miles per hour. The Mount Hood area will be sunny and breezy and quite warm with highs in the 60s to 70s at the ski resorts. And central and eastern Oregon expect a lot of sunshine, warm and breezy conditions, especially in central Oregon, with highs in the 70s and 80s. So if we do hit 90 today, that would be the tied for the all-time record high in the month of April and the earliest day that we've reached 90 degrees at PDX. Tomorrow we drop into the low 80s. Cooler air works its way inland on Sunday, drops highs into the low 60s, and we'll see highs in the 60s and 70s next week. Tony?